Hey guys, so this is part 2 of the 3-part series for the exams. So basically I covered exam 1 in another video. I'm going to do exam 3 in another video. Exam 1 had some overall stuff into it. This one is going to be quicker, and so is exam 3. This one's just going to be sort of the incremental approach of what's new since the first exam. So the second exam, I'd say it's the hardest one by far. I would say it's definitely the most difficult exam. There's just a lot of new stuff, and you guys just haven't seen it before. And you're at this point, you're really getting into nitty gritty accounting, very detailed, basically computations and understanding for each and every concept that you go through. And so it's not that any one concept is super hard. It's not like you would say, oh, this specific thing, it's like the worst. There are topics that are harder than others, but it's not as if you can't understand any individual concept. It's that there are a lot of them, and kind of all of them together, it's just a lot to know. And so you have to know each and every one very well. So that's kind of the difference between the first and second exam. The first exam is more about statements. It's kind of an overall view, versus the second and third exams dive into the actual specific accounting for mostly assets. Again, and then chapter 18 is basically one of the hardest chapters in the book, if not the hardest chapter in the book. The chapter itself, I think it's at least like around 45 pages, including the appendix, which you're already required to know. So that one by itself, you definitely need to block off a lot of time for. It's very challenging. And then in terms of like the average, generally the averages are about the same for the second exam as the first exam. It's just that even though the material's harder, people might think the average would go down. But the thing is, you guys know what to expect in terms of how the questions are going to be posed and that kind of a thing. But also, you understand that you need to be studying. Some people get smacked in the face by the first exam, and then they see the second exam, or they're like studying for the second exam. They're like, all right, I gotta ramp this up. And so even though the difficulty goes up, the studying goes up with it, and you guys know what to expect. So the average tends to not move around a ton. And then finally, this is really an area where you need to start, if you haven't already, basically almost working the problems, obviously, right, which you should have already been doing for the first exam. But additionally, you need to almost like make up your own problems or see how a problem could be changed, because they're not necessarily, the questions are not always necessarily going to be the same from the book as they are in the exam. The exam questions aren't necessarily going to be the same as the book, right? And I'm sure some were like that in the first exam. And so for exams 2 and 3, just remember that and try to see if you can come up with your own, or if you can't, then ask the TA or ask the professor or maybe another classmate or something. But yeah, those are basically my thoughts about exam 2. I'm going to make one more video for exam 3, and I'll see you guys then.